Boy, howdy, do we have an episode for you today with patron of the show, Joa Orga, on First Amendment audits. It's a doozy. Looking forward to letting you check it out. But before we get into it, remember we have a special offer for our listeners from friend of the show, author and content creator Shane Radliff of Liberty Under Attack Publications. Take 10% off your order at libertyunderattack.com using coupon code DANK10. You can get some books focusing on self-liberation, freedom strategies, solutions, and more. His current books are #Agora, Second Realm Book on Strategy, Ben Stone, Sedition, Subversion, Sabotage, Shane's very own Vanu, A Strategy for Self-Liberation, and some new ones. We're also going to have an author of one of those books on the show here pretty soon, so peep that. And, you know, Liberty Under Attack also offers assistance to new authors throughout the publishing process, including editing, proofreading, formatting for Kindle and paperback, and full-service audiobook productions. That's Liberty Under Attack Publications. Share your story, find your freedom. Gotta shout out Bad Moon Hemp. Check out badmoonhemp.wordpress.com. You'll see the glorious beard that I'm working in the show today. If you're watching on YouTube, that's made possible by the one-stop shop for all your handmade hemp needs, their beard balm and beard oil. You can get it there at badmoonhemp.wordpress.com. One more shout out to friend of the show and former guest Shane Hunter, aka the Abrasive Entrepreneur. Get yourself over to abrasiveads.com and opt in for a free first training from the man himself. The training's on Maslow's hierarchy of needs tied into marketing. Damn, this is valuable stuff. You can't go without it if you're looking to market your content. So check out abrasiveads.com and enjoy episode 59 of the Dank Pod-Stash.
Enemy of the state.
An enemy of the state.
Enemy of the state.
Dank Pod-Stash.
You're listening to Enemy of the State's Dank Pod-Stash. Check out thedankpodstash.com to find every episode of the Dank Pod-Stash, links to support the show via our BitBacker and Patreon, Dank Pod-Stash merchandise, and much more. If you'd like to advertise on the Dank Pod-Stash, email us at dankpodstash@gmail.com. You've made it to episode 59 of Enemy of the State's Dank Pod-Stash here with Joa Orga. What's up, man?
Not much. How you doing?
Doing great. Beautiful rainy Sunday over here in eastern Washington. Loving this weather. No snow yet.
Little flurries here.
Nice. Yeah, so you had approached me to maybe come on the show, check out a video you sent me of a First Amendment audit that you and some other people were doing that was pretty intense. So before we jump into talking about that kind of stuff, why don't you tell the listeners about you? Give us a little bio breakdown.
Sure. So I got involved in the Ron Paul campaign back in 2008. We realized how the media wasn't treating him right. And so I slowly and surely became an anarchist from there. I helped Ron Paul out in his campaign in 2012. And then once he didn't, get any further, I became a complete anarchist. And then so now I have a YouTube channel called Breaking the Flaw, and I've been politically active with other groups as well. Community Response Rhode Island is a local group that we're holding people accountable that are in government, and there's also a website called Rhode Island Accountability, and that's been very effective in the movement as well. So some of my recent things that have happened, I've challenged a lot of tickets in court, and I've won every single one because
Nice.
I learned how to fight them. And then also recently up in Worcester Police Station, I was doing a First Amendment audit there, and they illegally arrested me. Which we can get into more details on that, I guess, in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was pretty crazy. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I've tried to be as true to my word as I can, and I try to be as honest as I can. So yeah, ask away.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Open book.
Sweet. Yeah, so I've always been a little curious about the First Amendment audit stuff. Well, first of all, it's pretty awesome. You did the first or the classic transition from libertarian Ron Paul to anarchist. Was it that 6-month zone about that they say? You know, you're a libertarian, you're on the 6-month plan, then you're an anarchist.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, I even being an anarchist, I've helped people with their campaigns and stuff like that, but I'm not one to vote, and I don't encourage people to vote. I actually more about spreading the word. So if people have money to spread the word, I'll do that. Unfortunately, they're doing it to get into office, but you know what? I still think it's good to spread the word. You know?
For sure. You do anything with
libertarian? Not voting for you.
You do anything with maybe Vermin Supreme over there?
Yeah, I mean, I've hung out with Vermin many times, but last time I saw him, he was at the Trump rally up in New Hampshire. But I've definitely a party with him at Liberty Forum with the Free State Project. They had Liberty Forum and party with him there and stuff. But I mean, I did vote for him, and even the local candidates, I'll write in his name.
Mm-hmm. Nice, awesome. But yeah, so I'll let you do a breakdown of the video you sent me, your unlawful arrest for the First Amendment audit. But why don't you lay out exactly what a First Amendment audit is and what your goals are doing this kind of thing?
Well, our goal first is that to provide education to people that are unaware, and an audit itself is education of your rights, right? And so an audit is going up to public officials, filming them in their capacity, and then seeing if they respect our rights. It doesn't matter what it is. And so when we went out there and to the Worcester Police Station, let me tell you, right before the Worcester Police Station, we went to Paxton. Actually, I didn't go to Paxton. My friends did. Former friends, I won't get into that, but
okay.
We went to Paxton, and they got the best treatment they could ever get for an audit. The police chief came out, said, "Hey, if you have any questions, go ahead. There's a clerk at the desk. She's going to help you." And it was great. That was an A+, like all the way. That's how it should be. When we went to Worcester, the Worcester Police Station, they were not very cordial. Actually, it was very difficult to even find a legal way to enter the building because there was signage that actually kind of restricted us from going in certain ways. And then I think we still went in the wrong way. I don't know how to explain it, but and then when we got into the station, as a First Amendment audit, we at police stations, we explore every inch of the place that we are able to see with our eye, and our camera is an extension of our eye. So we show off the torture devices, which are the batons and handcuffs and stuff like that in the cases. We go to the wall of shame where the sex offenders are and all that. And then we do an audit of the clerk, the dispatch. And we discovered a violation right away. They had the TV on. These are supposed to be emergency personnel, and they're not supposed to be watching, sitcoms and everything like that. So we were going to inquiry about them shutting that off. And every time that we've asked a station to shut off the TV, they've done it because they understand what we're saying and that it's an emergency, job. You can't be watching TV. And so there was a sign on the counter there that said, "Please refrain from using cell phones at the counter." Mm-hmm. And they're not even allowed to inquiry to take your rights away. Maybe that's just opinion, but I don't think that they have a right to do that. I mean, just as much as they don't have the right to put the sign on the door that says no firearms allowed inside. That's also a restriction, but I wasn't going. This is a First Amendment audit, right?
Sure.
So we're talking to the clerk and about these signs, and she agreed. We're going to remove those signs. And she goes into the back and talks to one of her colleagues. Colleague comes out. And this is the guy that ultimately arrests me. He I'm not going to mention his name. I don't want to give him any credit.
Yeah.
And he started getting really nasty with us, talking to us and stuff. And he was trying to escalate things. He was talking to one of my friends that was with us. And he's like, "Are you in danger?" Trying to escalate things in a way. And he was being just a jerk. So while we're talking to him, all of a sudden, another officer, which we identify as Michael Hurley, and I believe he was just on desk duty at the time for a reason. And he comes out. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And he just grabs my phone, puts it in his pocket, and starts cornering me into the back of the police station. Then it eventually just grabs me and starts pushing me out of the station. He released me, and then he grabs my friend at the time and uses his face as a door opener. And you can watch it. You can watch this video. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll make sure to link that in
the
description so that everybody can watch it. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we get outside, and I'm asking, for my phone back, and he's like, the officer's like, "You want your phone? Go get it." And he throws it like 30 feet into a garden. It was a memorial garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's already the one disturbing a memorial garden at this point. And then I'm asking the officers to press charges for assault. And they're like, "Oh, let's not escalate this now." Oh, escalate it. Right. We're already pretty far escalated into this.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. He's violating our rights all the way. And so the officer gave me a verbal command to go get my phone. So I went to go get my phone. And I'm looking around in this garden, and the plants that are in there, the flowers are fairly spread apart. You can walk through them without ever even touching them, And under his breath, the officer, the clerk, he's standing right next to me while I'm looking. He's like saying under his breath, like, "You're kicking flowers, you're being disorderly." And I think he was, this is kind of retaliation, because I was telling him at the window that he was being disorderly the way he was talking to us.
Sure.
So he's just being sarcastic and retaliatory. And so I never find my phone. And after he gives me that verbal command or a warning, he instantly puts handcuffs on me. And as I'm handcuffed, the officer that took my phone, he comes right up to me and punches me in the chest, and while I'm in handcuffs. And then they proceeded to torture me with the handcuffs right on my wrist, and I actually have nerve damage in this area, and it used to be redness here. It's gone now, but it's numb. It is all numb in there. They destroyed my nerves, and they continued to do that as they brought me into the jail cell, and they were joking, defaming character, making up allegations while I was in there. And then because I asked for a supervisor, I asked for my lawyer, and I asked for a doctor. And because I asked for a doctor, they brought the ambulance down, and they brought me to the hospital up the street. It was only a couple minutes away, but they were trying to hold me there, right? Try to drag some feet. That way I couldn't get back to the bail commissioner.
Sure.
So I rushed them at the hospital. They all they did was give me an ice pack. I wasn't even examined or anything. Barely examined, if anything. And when I got back, they they took the cuffs off me and the shackles, and they actually started treating me like really nice in there. They did put me in a cell eventually, and they, one of the cops was talking to me about another auditor that got arrested there, and all this stuff. But while I was in there, I found out this after, is that they barricaded the doors. Okay, they put the big plastic handcuffs on the doors, and they barricaded with the plastic barriers, and they had SWAT out there with AR-15s and everything, because we were live streaming, or my friends were live streaming, and thousands of people were watching, and they were calling into the station to get me released.
Wow.
And because of that, they shut the phone lines down. They shut down the whole police station. What the heck? Like, who am I? Like, nobody.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I used my first one, right? We had to shut down everything. Anyways, that's where I'm at. I went for my arraignment the next Tuesday after that. This was on a Saturday, and I went to my arraignment Tuesday. And they almost got me there in the court. Might add this to my civil suit. Who knows? But they only brought up one of the charges. So I was charged with disorderly conduct for disturbing mulch. That's in the police report. And then who can say they have that kind of charge?
Jeez,
and then a trespass. The judge only brought up the trespass charge and not the disorderly conduct charge. And I was like, oh, maybe they dropped it because of probable cause. But they didn't have probable cause on the trespass either. So I asked him, is this the only charge? And they're like, yep. And I was like, okay. And good thing I had a friend there at the time. He's like, you better go check with the clerk, because you're going to walk out of here and get arrested. So I did. I checked with the clerk. She's like, oh, yeah, there's another charge. They brought it up. And I was talking to a lawyer after all this, and he's like, yeah, this is a trick they pull on people, that they don't bring up both charges and they bring up the other charge later on, and then you walk out of the court and they hold you for 90 days for a warrant. And that's what they were trying to do, and they didn't get away with it because I'm diligent with what I do. Yeah, it's crazy. So December 2nd is my next pretrial, my pretrial date. I'm expecting it all to be dropped, and then we're going to file for criminal. And as an anarchist, I don't really like to do this stuff, but you know what? People that are supposed to, uphold the law, I think deserve the punishment that they're enforcing. So let's let them learn a lesson and let them go through the grinder of the actual crimes that were committed here, and which would be, assault, torture, kidnapping, defaming character. There's a whole list of things that my lawyer is going to be charging them with, and I'm going to go after them criminally on a personal level. That way, they don't get their badges taken away, and that they are arrested as officers and not former police officers. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's my story, man.
Yeah, sticking it to them. Yeah, it's interesting because I have watched a few, not a whole lot, but a few of the First Amendment's audits videos on YouTube, including yours and other channels and stuff. And the one thing that always bugs me is that it's what a lot of people see it as is the message like, these are cops, they should be doing the right thing. Whereas I take the message of no cops do the right thing. They're all scum. And whether or not they're following procedure or not, like the TV thing, they're turning the TV back on as soon as you leave, for sure. And I think that message, getting that out there, how they don't uphold the law, and fuck the law too, by the way, but getting that message out there, showing their misbehaviors, that they're no better than anyone else, and like you said, they're just a gang, is probably the most important message that goes out with that. So I love that part of it.
I like to make something clear is that I follow the law, and the law is natural law, right? So if, to be respectful human beings and to never hurt another person, you got to follow natural law. The laws in the books are meant to hurt. They're not meant to make us free. They're meant to restrict us.
Sure. Yeah. Being a decent person to other people, being a good person to other people, that's what you got to do for sure.
Sounds like the law to me.
Yeah. So tell me about the other websites and projects you work with in Rhode Island. Those sound pretty cool.
Sure.
I really like the idea of building a community and stuff around you, and that sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, we started a community response, and we were going to city hall meetings and trying to pay attention to what all the corrupt people are doing. And yeah, we found a lot of sketchy things that were going on. And it basically bridged us into, so it's just community response is just we would see what they're doing and we would respond to it by making a YouTube video. And you can see that in my earlier videos on Breaking the Flaw, my YouTube channel. But later on, my friends and I created Accountability for All, and that's an interesting site because what we were doing is gathering. They call them APRA requests. It's Access to Public Records Act, and it's like the FOIA requests, Freedom of Information. And here in Rhode Island, they're called APRAs, and we would go and pay for them. And we would ask. Sometimes we don't have to pay for them. Sometimes we just give them to us. But we would ask for the last 4 years of APRA requests or specific time periods that we think some things that were happening in. And then once we get them, we just throw them on our website. We don't even get to look at all of them. We just put them up on our website. A lot of times these cities and towns are releasing information that's not redacted that should be, like social security numbers and all kinds of things like that. But eventually, we had so many up there that the news, like the Projo, which is the Province Journal, they were going to our website first before they go and do their APRA requests because it takes time out of their day. So they're going on our website and looking to find things. And they discovered some interesting things, which ended up one thing that they found was ended up bringing down a cop. So there was a cop in Charlestown, Rhode Island, that he was taking too much time off, and the news started paying attention, so they're looking into that. But they actually found that he was actually taking time off to do bodybuilding competitions.
Oh wow!
It's so crazy. So he's probably jacked up on steroids and all kinds of things. And then there was this one report that the news found, and that was that he was in his ex-girlfriend's driveway, and he put a gun to his head, threatening to kill himself. I'm assuming it's because he wanted to get back with her. But even after that happened, the chief of police still kept him on duty.
Sure.
So you have a suicidal, trigger-happy cop on duty. That's disturbing. So all this like broke in the news, and they did end up getting rid of him because of a technical thing, a medical condition that a doctor said that he had ADHD, and he appealed it and all this stuff. It's so crazy. But,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
There's different things that happen. But yeah, like you can go on our website and start reading APRA reports and tell us if you find anything interesting, because there's a lot of things that happen. Now, another thing too with the accountability, Rhode Island Accountability Project, is that we were inquiring for APRA requests in certain towns, including Pawtucket and Woonsocket, and we were looking for founded police complaints. So these are people who go in and complain, and the internal affairs or the chief actually decided this was a legitimate complaint, and they're supposed to have a response, right? So we were requesting these, and Pawtucket failed to provide these. Eventually, it got the attorney general involved, and they were denying us as well. And so, because of that, the ACLU in Rhode Island took the case, and because of that, we sued in federal court and we won.
Nice.
So they have to provide these complaints now. Now, Pawtucket and a couple other towns like Central Falls, they did provide some of them, but they're not producing all of them. So they're still in violation. And at this point, they could be, fined like a lot of money. And we're not about money. It's not about money, but the money shows the damages of what they do. So it'll just go forward for more lawyers and, to take them down even further in all this situation. But yeah, there is police abuse out there.
Oh yeah.
And they find a way to cover it up every time. In the last 2 years alone in Rhode Island, there's been at least 3 police officers that have raped people, but they're alleged rapes, right? So
right, yeah.
Because they never want the victim to go forward. Some of them are very aggressive too. It's crazy.
And they like to call those forced sex in the news headlines a lot. And it's like, just fucking call it what it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but whenever it's law enforcement doing it, you can't use those words. You can't, because they might get, people might turn against them. God forbid, right? But yeah, speaking of, special privileges, and then, outside of your video, because there was obvious retaliation against you in your video, are you facing any kind of retaliation just on the streets? Like, do the cops that recognize you stop and hassle you, anything like that?
So this goes both ways too. So it's good and bad. So I've gotten, I'm not even going to mention the names of these groups because I don't want to give them any credit. But there are people out there that are actively trying to defame me and a few other people, as well as just normal people in society that make mistakes and stuff. And maybe some of the people deserve to be known, right? Like people that do stupid stuff. But we're not doing that. We're practicing our rights. We're not. If you don't like that, we don't like cops all the time. That's on you. But we've proven that they are wrong and doing the wrong thing. Now, when it comes to every single police officer in Rhode Island has been notified of me and my friends on what we do. They actually sent out a memo through the Fusion Center. Okay, this is crazy because it actually makes us look like criminals when they do this, but we're not. They sent a letter out to every public office in Rhode Island, which is it's hysterical. So let me get to the good side.
All right.
Yeah, all the cops know us. All the cops know us and stuff. But I tell you what, the police stations, specifically state police and Providence police, they're actually showing our videos as training videos on how to talk to people that are educated with their rights. Maybe it's a good thing and a bad thing, but one thing is we're effective enough to be influencing police officers.
Sure.
And also another thing, there's a local school, university, Roger Williams University, and I ran into some guys that go to school there, and they recognized me right away. And I was like, "How do you know me?" And they're like, "Oh, they've been showing your videos in our classroom."
Wow. Nice.
So if there's anything called effectiveness, it's this.
Yeah.
So,
do you know what context they're showing those videos in the classroom?
what the kids told me is that is how police talk to people that know their rights, and it's almost like how to de-escalate themselves out of the situation so they don't get caught in conundrums or legal conundrums. That's what I assume. I'm not really sure on that, but I hope it's really what it's about is that, hey, there are people that know their rights out there, and you should respect them. If you don't know your rights, it sucks because you don't know how to defend yourself. But
it's kind of funny too that they're using these videos for training law enforcement on how to interact with people who know their rights versus telling them, you know, treat everybody according to their rights. That's a little fucked up right there.
I mean, it's their oath of office, and I try to remind them every day, especially with the First Amendment audits that my friends and I do, is that it's reminding them that we're the boss. You are a public servant, and you are to enforce the law, which is to protect it and to protect people's rights, protect them from being able to speak freely or have a camera in a police station or whatever.
Okay, so where are you then with the when it was duly ruled by the Supreme Court that police don't actually have, you know, the duty to protect citizens?
This is true, and you know what? That just proves I don't care if the cops show up or not. I think it's up to you to defend yourself or hire someone to protect you. It ultimately comes down to that. If you want the services of the state, expect the quality of the state. You know, there's anything that could happen when that happens. You know, when you send your kids to public schools, you expect them to get an education, but you really don't.
Right.
But if you send them to a private school, they're gonna get an education. You're paying for it. You better get what you're paying for. You get what I'm saying? It's like whenever you hire any organization, you want to know what their background's like, and it's not looking good for the state. And they're far into debt. So why would we put our trust into someone that's, you know, losing money?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love whenever law enforcement comes up, bringing up Detroit Threat Management Center. I'd love to see that popping up anywhere and everywhere in competition with police, but I'm sure it's working where it's at because police abandoned that area because the neighborhood was, you know, abandoned by law enforcement. So they stepped in and did what they could for the community, and it seems to be turning out very well for them. I can't imagine what it would be like if they started setting up shop in towns with police. There'd probably be a whole lot of, you know, backlash for them, a lot of harassment, I would imagine. But all right, let's get back into it. What other question? Yeah. No, I was just thinking what kind of stuff you might imagine seeing if there were, you know, private security for neighborhoods and whatnot. What kind of response do you think the cops would have there? That'd open up a whole nother set of auditing, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're hiring a private service, I mean, you should be able to know their quality of service, and I think transparency would be a key thing for any private security. So if they're very open about what they do, and they have body cams, maybe they can post every night. Or I was saying that even police officers now should have live body cams. If you have live body cams, they can never get away with anything. Mm-hmm. And I was suggesting that we go hand out a bunch of cell phones to a bunch of kids and get them out there and start doing YouTube channels themselves. Because if we get a bunch of people out there, if we get enough people, if we have a person at every traffic stop, it might sound like a lot, but I think the cops will stop doing traffic stops. They'll stop doing egregious things at those traffic stops, and it would just shut their money revenue down, and they won't be able to do all these things. They'll get back to the basic roots. That's why the camera is so important. The First Amendment auditors are so important.
That would definitely be awesome.
It would hold them accountable.
Yeah, if they stop the revenue collection, it'd be great, of course, if they stop brutalizing people at traffic stops and whatnot. But stopping that revenue generation for police departments would be a devastating blow. And when you mentioned before about more fines that could be levied on, what was it, part of Rhode Island that had to release information. It sucks that that's coming from the taxpayer and not out of pensions and pay and stuff like that. That'd be an interesting thing to be campaigning for, if outside of focusing on campaigning for complete abolishment of police.
I mean, that would be nice, but I think we need a lot of steps before we get there. I mean, as an anarchist, where I came from and all that, I would think that people would have to go through the same steps where I came from to understand it. And it takes dedication and time to understand these things. And a lot of people don't have that. So maybe they should just, hire private service to get these things done. I don't know. And you see that more and more around the country. People are hiring private services for roads and
Sure.
whatever detail they might need. But why can't they just do it for police?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I've always wanted to see communities come together and expel police from their area, saying, we don't want you here. We have our own security built. And I need to look into that, actually, what avenues police would have for fucking with them for doing that. Because I'm sure they're going to find a way to say, no, this is public roads, state maintained. We're going to come in here no matter what. And then it escalates, but maybe it does. Bundy Ranch is something I bring up on the show quite a bit.
Pockets of abuse. It would take a while for something like this to happen, but I think there'd be pockets of abuse in the communities that people would have noticed the power that they could have, and they take it. I get that, but I think it'd be less detrimental if it was like your neighbor down the street versus this, incorporated police station that has a bunch of random people applying to. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have a better, people will say here in Rhode Island that Rhode Island was great when the mob was here. And it just shows that the government is worse than what the mob was doing. And it's pretty funny.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. That's, I wonder how many cops were involved with the mob when the mob was more prevalent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was there.
Yeah. They're not still involved in that kind of stuff, to your guys' knowledge.
The government is the mob. I mean, you have all the same family names that are involved, and it doesn't go away. I mean, we have David Cicilline as our congressman. I mean, that is a big sure sign of corruption. I mean, his brother was in jail for murder. His family is well-connected lawyers, and it is no doubt. There's a lot of deep history here in Rhode Island, recent history that's deep, and there's huge cover-ups that are going on. And I would actually highly suggest everyone look up what's his name now? His last name was Hart. I can't recall the name, but there was this murder of this kid in Rhode Island, and I want to say it's Brian Hart.
Okay.
I forget, right?
We'll figure it out. Put it in the description.
Blank right now. Yeah, but if you look it up, we the people of RI, Hart, and you'll see how the police covered up a murder. This kid went to a bar that was owned and run by police officers, and he was found by his friends later on on the side of a river, and they have all kinds of tampering on his phone, and it was invested. Like, the news was talking about it for years, and it's too bad. Like, they still covered up. I wish this would come back out. The place of the bar, it was called Red Room, and then when after he was murdered, they changed the name of the bar to Saints and Sinners.
Oh wow!
Like,
little obvious.
Yeah, it's the same owners and everything. Like, and the owner of the bar was also the lead investigator into his death.
Oh, of course, yeah. No conflict of interest there whatsoever. Jesus.
No.
So with you interact with police pretty frequently, then it seems. I'm wondering if you've seen any knowledge of the whole Boogaloo meme with the cops that you've come across, because I've seen that starting to pop up specifically from a friend of the show and former guest Daniel Johnson, who I do the Hot Toke stuff here on YouTube with. He was going hunting and got stopped by a cop, and he had, of course, guns with him. And the cop asked him, "Are you here to start the boogaloo?"
Well, all right. So I've had some retaliatory things happen to me. So I got pulled over in Johnston, Rhode Island, and this is all documented, and I've recorded everything, my traffic stop and everything on my YouTube channel. Look up Johnston Police, Johnston Police Pirates. That's the name of the title.
Nice.
And so I got pulled over for a U-turn, which I proved later on in court that it was legal. And so the officer perjured himself, saying that I didn't have, a certain distance to be able to turn and all this stuff. But I challenged that. I won. But when I went to the pretrial for that, the first pretrial date, when I left the court, and I was in a rental car, so it wasn't even my car. I got pulled over in a retaliatory pullover, and they wrote me a ticket for license plate frames. So if you have your license plate and the frame around your plate, it's so stupid. And so I challenged that, and I brought that one all the way to court and took it to trial. And I got to tell you, this is funny, is that the prosecutor really wanted me to pay. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to pay anything. He's like, oh, why don't you just do 5 hours of community service? And I was like, he's like, oh, don't you do community service? Don't you want to help out the community? I'm like, look, I'll do community service on my own time, not on your time. So he's still begging. So I go right up to the mic and I go, I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Nice.
On the mic. And the judge dismissed it all right there.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm just curious.
But yeah, there is retaliatory things going on.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I want to know if they're scared of a boogaloo scenario or not. And, that makes me think, that reminds me too of comments. I was reading through the comments, of course, on the YouTube video that you sent to me. And it's about half positive, half negative. I'm sure you get a good mix of both. And, there's always the people who say, you guys aren't going to do shit. You're not really doing anything. And it's the same with the idea of starting some sort of boogaloo or something like that. But that I would imagine it's about 50-50 split of support and, attacking you guys for doing what you're doing.
Well, I think a lot of that is tainted. That 50-50 is tainted. And the reason why I say that is I was getting almost only support. There is a group out there that are trying to defame my character, and they will make many, many alternate accounts just to make a ton of comments. And I've actually, I've proven this too. And, they're disgusting people. You should see some of the things they've sent me. They've, anyway. Oh, here's another retaliatory thing that you should know about. So when my friend Enrique, he got arrested in Woonsocket, and that's a video on my channel too. When he got arrested, he was a violation of a probation violation, and so they put him into the big pen, the ACI. And I went to go visit him there, and when I went in there, they wanted my ID. I showed them my ID. They scan it into the computer, and they run a background check and stuff and everything like that. And I go in and see my friend, and I leave, whatever. Later on that night, I'm getting images in my Facebook, and they had scanned my ID in, edited my face out, and made provocative pictures of me and my friend as gay lovers.
Oh my God. The police or the jail did that?
Yeah. The jail did that. Yep.
Wow.
And they called me the video guy when I walked in there, so they knew who they were dealing with. And I filed a complaint against these people at the, down at the correctional facility. And they also, the other part of my complaint was this, is that they were joking about drugging and raping women at nightclubs.
Jesus Christ.
That's no joke, man.
That's terrible.
And so I was the only guy in there too. I was the only dude in the waiting room. It was all women around me because they're all going to visit the men, right? And I went to go visit my friend. So now I'm somehow, a gay lover because I visit my friend in
Right.
jail. Like, get out of here.
Scumbags. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it seems just shit, just corrupted on every level. Yeah, you're right in that people aren't ready for, the extreme action of, an anarchist mindset, and that showing them, if you know your rights, there's going to be a different interaction and whatnot, and getting them down the slow road to there. But it's just super frustrating already, having that mindset and hearing this stuff. And it's frustrating having to go through the state to be able to fight this kind of thing, because they're all in cahoots. It's like, how do you even win when they're still stealing tax money, to pay for all the things? Any money awarded, taxpayer money, any punishment funded by taxpayers. It's ridiculous. So what's the next step then? Are you guys going to continue this? Do you have a goal, an end goal at all? Get some of the police departments disbanded, anything like that? What's the thought process?
Well, I don't see that happening here in Rhode Island. Any police stations disbanding. But what my goal is to leave. I don't want to be part of this system. I want to live out in the middle of nowhere, off the grid, like you.
Love it.
And
getting there.
That's my next big goal. I'm going to stay here for a little while. I'm going to be suing the Worcester police, and we'll see if they get a brand new stadium or not, because they're building a baseball stadium, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that after they pay me. Yeah.
There you go. Fuck that stadium. Yeah. Speaking of living out in the middle of nowhere, off grid, learning that kind of stuff, you should check out DIY Anarchy on Facebook. Just started that yesterday. Actually, a buddy brought me onto that. So, off grid survival skills, boogaloo skills, all that kind of stuff. So DIY Anarchy on Facebook. You'll enjoy it.
I'll
it's
definitely
sweet.
check that out.
Yeah, it's from the same people who have Made in Anarchy and the Free Market Green Environmentalist group. I always forget the name. Damn it, Michael Jimerson. It's Michael's group. He's been on the show before, and it's like a paragraph long. I always forget the damn name, but definitely check that out. That's cool. Where are you thinking on going? You got any visions of where you want to be living off in the middle of nowhere?
I will just say warmer.
Yeah.
Not New England. Not New England. Something warmer. South.
Yeah, moving down south.
I'd rather not put it out there because I don't want people.
I mean, I'm meaning more, like what's your idea? Warmer, that kind of thing. Because I came from Arizona to Washington to get away from the heat, man. That's it's a little rough down there in the 120s, 110s, and whatnot. It's doable, but it's a hell of a lot easier in a little bit more temperate climate.
Yeah, well, I'm going to a temperate climate, but it'll be south.
Sweet. Very cool.
I won't go into details.
Yeah, for sure. You going to miss doing the First Amendment audits, or are you going to keep doing that? You're going to travel out of the mountains into the nearest town and keep doing that?
No, I don't plan on doing it. What I will do is like something what you just told me, which is like the anarchy do it yourself. But I want to like start recording myself going off the grid, showing the steps of how I'm getting there. I like to do some like metal forging and like making some maybe guns and weaponry and
cool.
Try to survive, like farming and all that. But that's my goal, my end goal there.
That's awesome. That's a great goal. That kind of reminds me of something that's kind of been blowing up in the news a little bit too. I think it was a UC Berkeley teacher who tweeted out that rural Americans are bad people who should be shamed for living in rural America because living city life is more efficient. I can't remember the exact quote, but that's the fucking exact mindset that leads to the problems that we have right now. He thinks it's backwards thinking to want to go live out in a rural setting. When you live out in the middle of
nowhere, you don't want to deal with like having a ton of trash or having recyclables. So you work within your means to never even have those things. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's more effective to the environment than living in a city where you have to buy reusable things. And it's,
absolutely.
We understand their end goal here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely easier for control if you're all packed into a city, Imagine how easy it is to lock down one building with a couple hundred people in it, versus a couple hundred
Oh, for
people
sure.
hiding in the hills with guns.
Like we saw in Louisiana, the Superdome.
Mm-hmm.
They just locked them in.
Yep. It's ridiculous. And then Joel Osteen locked him out. That mega,
Right? Exactly.
doesn't want to share his money with anybody. That's crazy. So yeah, what other kind of community building are you guys working on out there? Or are you planning on more moving away and not really, since you were getting out of there, but I'm sure you want to leave something behind.
I feel like I've done quite a bit. So I'm like stepping back now, and trying not to get arrested again, which I really don't want. But I'm just working, trying to save money, and that's where I'm at.
Nice. So the other thing when I watch a lot of these First Amendment audits, obviously it's called a First Amendment audit. It's based on the Constitution and whatnot. Do you have a plan when talking to people about it, getting them to realize that the Constitution really doesn't do much for you as far as the slow transition from maybe libertarian to anarchist or whatever?
So I think when we do the audits, it's not so much. It is educating everyone else, but I think it's more about educating those who are supposedly enforcing these things. So I'm more about educating those idiots,
Mm-hmm.
not the people that are that are unaware of their rights. That comes with it. Like, people will slowly earn that over time as long as they stop paying attention. But those that are that need to have that reality checked every once in a while, that they're not the the ultimate authority on us, that the law is the ultimate authority. And once people start thinking about that, I think they start thinking about how ridiculous the law is awesome sometimes. So we just need people to just stop paying attention to the system.
Mm-hmm.
And once you stop paying attention, you realize how crazy and stupid it really is.
Absolutely.
I love, like, when I do like city hall audits, I ask them, like, hey, I heard that you get a discount if you're a veteran. I heard you get a discount if you're elderly. Can I just identify as an elderly veteran? And then they go, well, you have to go to your legislators for that. I'm like, well, that sounds like I have to start a rally and get a bunch of people around me, start a campaign, raise a lot of money just to change this one little thing where you guys just take my money. And it's like, they're like, well, that's just how it is. I'm like, well, that seems like a whole lot to try to have freedom, don't you think? I try to reverse psychology on them a little bit. And people know it. We have the DMV, which is like such a boondoggle. We go there and we wait hours and hours and hours just so we can pay a lot of money for money they don't deserve. So we get a special little badge on our car. And you know how you've probably seen that meme around there. It's like, you need to get your car inspected so it can be safe to drive on our roads. But then you look at the roads, and I don't know if you've ever been to Rhode Island, but they are like the worst roads. They are so bad.
Yeah, it's funny too, because that kind of goes everywhere. You always see it region specific. Like, Rhode Island has terrible roads. There's a bunch of that in Arizona too. It's everywhere. It's up here around in eastern Washington as well. And it's just like, maybe the roads aren't safe for the cars, the whole point of the meme. But that's interesting too. I think the infrastructure's suffering pretty heavily. What happened with all this infrastructure building that Trump is trying to push and whatnot? Where's all this money going? That's the kind of stuff people need to look at too. But what kind of positive change have you seen? Because you're saying you'd rather get not rather, but you're educating the people, the bludgies, the people who are upholding supposedly the law and enforcing the law. Have you seen any positive change from any of them?
Actually, a lot of the legislators don't like me, and that's fine. You don't have to like me, but I have a lot of people supporting me. I did this one video. If you look at it on my channel, it's if you can just search Central Falls Police, and it should be like the first result. I've gotten millions of views on this video, and I bet you every single person in Central Falls have seen this video. It's a small city. It's only 1 square mile.
Oh, wow.
Has the highest population per capita. Has the highest prison population per capita. And it's just here in this small state, Rhode Island. and they a lot of people have seen that, and I'll be walking down the street and people recognize me, which is kind of cool. But I think because people saw me stand up for my rights, that makes them want to stand up for their rights, because, oh, someone else could do it. Why can't I? Because I just need to be a little bit educated about it, and then I can get right on it. So I feel like I've inspired a lot of people.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, you haven't seen much as you know, in the way of police or law enforcement or anything like that, you know, changing their ways as a person, not necessarily changing the, you know, the whole system. But you see, do they even have a glimmer of recognition?
I like to think that there are some out there, but I definitely haven't seen that. I've talked with some anonymously, and I won't be able to mention names or anything. And I mean, some cops even message me anonymously, and they've proven it too, that they're actually cops. I won't go into the details of that because there's things that are conflicting right now that I can't talk about. Yeah, there are cops out. There are good cops out there, but they'll never be, you know, stay in the force and continue to be a good cop. I don't think.
Right.
They'd have to do really bad things to make their way up, because you need the bad people at the top to control to keep that stronghold. So, there's one other thing I want to mention is that because they sent out that Fusion Center memo of me and my friend, they also had got the Attorney General to print out a photo from my ID. Okay, they printed a photo from my ID, printed it out nice and big, and they put it up on a wall of all these criminals at the Attorney General's office. Like, there's no description of me, but there's descriptions of the criminals. So they tell you, like, what this guy, you know, this guy's a troublemaker or whatever. But since I haven't broken the law, heck, I even did a background check while I was at the Attorney General's office, and there was nothing on me. So I inquired on why there was a picture of me up there, and they couldn't explain it. I feel like because my image is up there, they're going to treat me different.
Sure.
And why should I be treated different if I'm practicing my rights?
Right. That's interesting. And so this is another question I had for you too. Do you run across a lot of the sovereign citizens? Do you ever deal with any sovereign citizen people? And what do you think about that? Because it seems like that the videos, I don't think you guys are doing that stuff, but I think there's some overlap with people who search on YouTube for that stuff and find videos. And I think that whole sovereign citizen thing's a little wacky.
Yeah, well, there was a radio show that I was on. It was called Sovereign Citizen Radio, but it wasn't. It was kind of a joke. First off, it was kind of like a joke. We changed the name to Northern Prosperity Law Center. Do you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Instead of the Southern Poverty Law Center, it's the Northern Prosperity.
Got him.
And but yeah, it was just a radio show I was on. But no, I'm not a sovereign citizen. If anything, a sovereign citizen is an oxymoron. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. You're either a sovereign individual or you're a U.S. citizen. I'm a sovereign individual all day. And the only like sovereign citizens that are out there are police officers.
Right.
Because if you you believe that you're sovereign from the laws and you're still a citizen, then I feel like, you know, you're in this contradicting space. But they're the ones that get away with laws that they enforce or not enforce. So cops are the real sovereign citizens.
Right. Yeah. That's probably why there's so many of those, you know, sovereign citizen gets wrecked videos on YouTube and whatnot. I would imagine that bothers the cops because they probably do think that they're, you know, the more sovereign citizen, and they love fucking with those people when they come around, which it seems like a really bad way to try to fight the law, is claiming that you're above the law and yet you're still a part of the system. It's completely ridiculous.
It's an oxymoron, like I said. Like,
yeah, completely ridiculous. So, and are you still you're good on you're going to court for this what you sent me in the video still, right? You had your arraignment and you got the 2 charges figured out, like you said, before they tried to get you. So can you talk about that more, or do you have to kind of not talk about that since you're not there yet?
Yeah, I'll tell you as much as I can tell you. But like, no, we're my pre-trial is December 2nd. I didn't have a lawyer with me for the arraignment, so I just I was like, push this forward, and they did. But it should be all thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be surprised if it sticks. My lawyer is going to work hard on it. I do need to raise some money for my lawyer. Do you mind if I drop my PayPal?
Yeah, we'll put it in the description. Go ahead and tell them.
It's PayPal, paypal.me/CRRI. So that's for Community Response RI. So paypal.me/CRRI. Anything would help, guys. I need to raise $2,000 for a retainer so that he can start the motions. But I think he's going to help me before then. He does trust me with getting this money to him. But I'm working things out to get that done. And then he's a good lawyer. He's like the last good lawyer that we have in the state. Even him, I think my lawyer still needs to grow some balls, but I think he'll get there. Because I've been pressuring him hard on this, so I think he's ready. He was excited, right? He was excited when he saw that video, so it's looking good. And by the way, this is not the first time I've been assaulted. I was in a Providence court trying to get some paperwork, official business, and I was assaulted by a sheriff in there. The clerk lady was being nasty to me. She was defaming my friend's character, saying he was a child molester, which is not true.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the only reason that she came up with me, so they put an article out there saying that my friend was a child molester. They since redacted that story because it's not true. And they do, their diligence to remove stories that are fake, but it's too late. It's too late. You've already told thousands of people. It doesn't matter. And it's so crazy. So it was in the court, and because the girl was being nasty to me, the sheriffs come up and surround me like I'm the bad guy, and then the officer starts like pulling me out of the court building. I'm not in a courtroom, right? The clerk's office, and I thought he punched me. He double fist punches me, but I guess it was an open palm. So you can't call it punching if it's an open palm.
A strike,
right? So, yeah, it's a strike.
Right.
And he was doing it while I was going down the stairs, and they were just really, really nasty to me. That officer tried to attack me previously when my friend was having a trial, and that officer was actually held back by four other officers, 4 other sheriffs, held him back from like attacking me. Jesus. It was crazy.
That is crazy. Violent thugs, man. That's all they are. That thin blue line gang. Oh, yeah. It's amazing to me that they even exist peacefully at all at any time in society, with just the crazy attacks, the murders that you see that they carry out on people.
It's sick.
Yeah. It's a
I would
weird
dare them.
It's like a weird mental illness that they think that they're the sheepdogs, they call themselves, right? They're the sheepdogs saving you from the wolves. It's like, Jesus Christ, you guys are fucking delusional.
Mm-hmm. Like here's one for you. They have this Bearcat. I know you know what the Bearcats are. The Wainco Bearcats. They're like tanks.
Yeah.
So the state police came into Pawtucket, Rhode Island, where Family Guy is filmed. Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And they had like an 8-hour standoff, and the guy wasn't even home. First off, they didn't know that.
Yeah.
And they had the Bearcat there, and they had the Punisher logo on the battering ram on the Bearcat in the front there. The thin blue line one.
Yeah.
The Punisher thin. And so my friends and I, we inquired it to the state police, like, why do you have this sticker? Who authorized the sticker to be on the vehicle? And they were like, No one authorized it. You guys are right, and they removed it. They sent a letter back saying they removed it. So, like, who says we're not being effective? We're being effective, you know?
That's right.
We're changing things. We gave them the whole spiel of why the Punisher was created, and the reason is because of the failure of police.
Right.
So now, and whenever they display these logos, it's such a contradiction.
Yeah, it's ironic. They're too dumb to even look into it. They just, oh man, cool skull. We're gonna put that on our shit and look badass.
Right. Oh, Punisher. Oh, what does he do? Does he kill bad guys? Yes, he does.
The real bad guys, motherfucker. That's right. That's crazy. Well, hell yeah, man. Let's call that a show and jump into the Patreon after hours. Go ahead and plug all your stuff again, your YouTube channels, your websites, and that PayPal again. I'll make sure to put everything in the show notes.
So my YouTube channel is Breaking the Flaw. I don't break the law, I break the flaw, and expose bad cops. And then my other groups are Community Response Rhode Island. We have a Facebook page. I don't know if the website's up right now, but it might be. And then you have Accountability of Rhode Island Accountability, and that's where you can read our APA requests and amongst other things that have been posted. Yeah, it's interesting what you can find on those sites. So I really suggest you guys to take a look. If you join the Community Response Facebook group, you would need approval. So we'll have to do like a little bit of diligence to make sure you're not a troll. And we'll get you in there. Yeah, what else you want? Oh, my PayPal account. I need help for donations to supply a retainer to my lawyer. I need to raise $2,000 for him to get started, and that's paypal.me/CRRI. And I'd really appreciate if you guys could help. Even a little helps.
Yeah, let's get this guy lawyered up and take down some agents of the state. All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming on the show. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you want to be awesome like Joa, besides doing First Amendment odds, you can go to patreon.com/the Dank Pod-Stash like he does and support the show, help make the show great. We're coming out with new stuff for you, and it's all because of our patrons, so I really appreciate that. And we'll see you in the after hours. Zombie presidents, what anarchy! Zombie presidents!